Hey folks, welcome back to Nako. It's time. The Call of Africa. This is Chris in central Pennsylvania. Actually, no, I'm sitting in a temperate rainforest in Wales, as you can see by my backdrop there, along with my co-hosts Dumo and Koketso Resani, and the AWOL guy is still not here. Maybe one day he'll appear on the program. We shall see. Anyway, in the meantime, folks, I've decided that maybe we should have guests come on every now and then and join us on the panel. I've invited a couple of people, but no responses thus far. But let me welcome in my co-host for this. Koketso, let's start with you. How are you doing tonight?
I think I'm brilliant. Haven't had enough coffee for the day. I'm fixing that now.
I was going to say, I'll offer you a Starbucks. Oh, you can't see it. There it is. The rainforest blotted out by Starbucks. Is that ethical? Yeah. Is that ethical coffee now because it was blotted out? I don't know.
Well, I know Starbucks is expensive here.
It's expensive everywhere, brother. Trust me. What's up? What's up, Dumo?
Okay, sorry, I was on mute. Everything is good, Chris. Thanks for having me on again. And I'm always looking to having a good conversation with you and Koketso. So I'm itching.
Well, so am I. And there's never a shortage of topics to talk about, whether it's Joe Biden's tripping and falling off bicycles or it's Cyril Ramaphosa's secret stash. Guys, I'm trying to get an interview with Chief who hides his money in furniture right now, Ramaphosa. I'm working on it. Just trying to make that happen. Thought you might appreciate that one. Yeah, Chief who hides his money in sofa. We got Sitting Bull. We've got Chief who hides his money in furniture. Anyway, Pala. We can talk about that a bit too. But folks, my apologies for the short notice on this stream. Originally I was going to do the news because it's been a busy week and I wasn't sure we were going to do the show or not. And the Dumo always like, hey, let's make it happen, man. So I shifted focus real quick and Koketso rushed home and here we are. So we're going to do it today. There is a rumor, unconfirmed, that Cyril Ramaphosa is going to speak this evening in South Africa. If that happens, we'll bring him on. And or we'll do another live stream, one of the two. But we'll definitely cover that here. And I guarantee you that he's not going to be addressing Pala, either his Ankole cattle sale or the missing millions. He probably will be talking about South Africa's decision to lift the mask covering. Dumo, thoughts on that? If Ramaphosa speaks tonight, what are you weighing odds on? Where's the money going?
Yeah, I think he's going to remove the regulations. Because, you saw there was that document. I think I saw it first from Jonathan Witt, not so that Jonathan Witt was the first one to share it. And it looked like it was a letter from the Minister of Health, Joe Pasha, and he was recommending that we remove the remaining mandates. So I got a little theory here, right? And it might be a dumb theory, but it's fine. I'll say it anyway. I think that the reason why they're removing these mask mandates and all these other stupid, draconian, foolish, and whatever bad word you can insert their type of regulations. The reason why they're doing that is because of the fact that Ramaphosa is in trouble. He's in trouble.
That's not stupid. That's spot on. That's been my assessment since the outset of this.
Exactly. So they're ending this, and then everyone's going to celebrate and go, yay, we don't have to wear masks. And hopefully they'll forget about the whole scandal.
Dumo, hang on, brother, hang on. For now, read the letter, yes. And they didn't even have to include that. Even if they had not included it, we know their intent. For now. So South Africans, before you rejoice, Twitter fans, before you rejoice that Elon Musk has taken over the company, understand that the Securities Exchange Commission must approve the sale, shareholders must approve the sale, and he's got to come up with the financing. He's not spending $44 billion out of his own pocket. So all these people rushing out, and then he's canceled the deal. He hasn't canceled the deal. It's in the works. Take a breath. And South Africa may be removing its unconstitutional, capricious regulations, not laws, regulations, but they'll come back at a moment's notice. What do you think about that one there, Koketso?
Yeah, that's exactly the kind of framework they tried to formally legislate, right? That they can, at whim, basically give us new laws, almost the equivalent of an executive order, really, which we don't have then in South African law. You cannot just go ahead and pass a law from the presidential office. You can't do that in this part of the world. And they try to basically create that power for themselves. Let's not forget that in South Africa, at least, we don't have the kind of media that really hounds the president's office for answers. Never mind the president. Same goes for even his ministers. we don't have that kind of a media that really wants to take government to account. And the government is basically, they're well aware of this. And they were very eager to introduce new laws that will let them do whatever it is they want. And again, it's the citizenry and some of us who were vocal about it, while the media was basically saying, yeah, it's for the good of the country. We need to be able to empower government to, look out for grandma at a moment's notice, because that's how you keep grandma alive, etc., etc. That's the country we live in right now. But I'm hopeful that these regulations will go away, even if temporarily, because I'll be honest, I'm sick of wearing this mask. It doesn't work. It never did. And I don't care who says what, but whoever wants to convince me otherwise, you're going to sweat blood before you convince me that wearing a mask was definitely a good preventative measure for that spicy cough.
Ladies and gentlemen, the views and comments of Koketso Raisani do not reflect Chris Wyatt Africa, nor do they comport with the standards of Susan Wojciechowski, the CEO of PooTube. Just thought I should mention that, so before we get a strike there. But about facial coverings. No, it's 2 points about that, Koketso. First off, number one, it's a misnomer, a misconception, a misunderstanding, mostly amongst Americans, but around people around the world, that presidents in the United States can issue an executive order with the weight of law. They cannot. That's fraudulent and unconstitutional. The executive order that a president can sign applies exclusively to the executive branch of the federal government, not to the states, not to American citizens, to the federal government. Now, if you're an American citizen in uniform in the military, or you're an American citizen who works for the federal government, then those things can apply to you when you're in the workplace, or for military, it's 24 hours a day. It doesn't matter where you are, that because you have a different legal code that you apply. Anyway, so when Barack Obama stopped the Keystone XL pipeline from coming across the Canadian border, he used his legitimate authority as a commander-in-chief responsible for national security to say, we need to study this about national security concerns. Could it make us vulnerable? Is there a threat? That was legitimate, but that wasn't why he did it. He did it so he could stop it. His own State Department issued a report 2 years later, almost 3 years later, said that this is actually good for America. It will increase energy supply, reduce cost. Not that it'll create a lot of jobs, which the oil industry claimed, which wasn't true. They were temporary jobs. But the bottom line is it'll keep the refineries in the Gulf states of Louisiana and East Texas busy with low-quality crude that they're very well adapted to refining coming out of Canada, so they don't have to shut down. So he illegally used an executive order to shut it down, and no one challenged it in court. He doesn't have that authority. Now, when Donald Trump stopped people from immigrating to America from Nigeria and 5 other countries in early 2020, and Nancy Pelosi claimed that was racist, even though he lifted the ban against Chad, a black Muslim nation. Anyway, when that happened, that was within his purview. As a chief executive, he's responsible for those who come into this country, although Joe Biden doesn't seem to realize he is. So anyway, that's a misnomer. A lot of people, especially Americans, don't realize that the chief executive has no authority over anyone except the executive branch. And of course, the executive branch is gargantuan. It's every cabinet position, customs, immigration, Coast Guard, military, all that. But he has no authority over Congress, no authority over the Supreme Court, no authority over American citizens, individual states, and territories. And the second thing is that I don't understand your skepticism here, Koketso. I saw last week that South Africa's media is the second most trusted in the world. A survey of 90,000 leftist hate-wanking respondents said that it was the most trustworthy, second most trustworthy in the planet. I see Dumo's getting a good laugh out of that. Did you see that survey there, Dumo?
No, I haven't. This is the first time hearing
Look it up, brother. I'm not making it up. South Africa's media is the second most trusted. And News 24, Nasper's crown jewel, has climbed 7 places in the world rankings.
Wow, News 24.
Yeah, News 24. I bet you Melanie Verwoerd is considered the most reliable op-ed writer on the planet. Well, Koketso,
wow.
Koketso's glasses are smoking on that one. He can't believe that.
No, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Look, let me put it this way, right? You can have the fastest car in the world. That doesn't make you the fastest driver.
Boom! Spot on. You got it. That's exactly right. You can have the most PhDs, but that doesn't mean you have any common sense, or you can even string 2 sentences together, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's it.
Or you can be a lifelong leech on the teat of society and still be as dumb as the day you entered the Senate, Joe Biden. All right, guys, let's not avoid the elephant in the room. No, it's not the mask. It's not that. It's Cyril's secret stash. Chief who hides his money in furniture. Ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about the Ramaphosa himself. Yes. Do you know that today a case was filed by, of course, the Radical Economic Transformation Zuma supporters, a gender-based violence case against Cyril Ramaphosa for the alleged torture of his domestic worker. Oh, my goodness. Now, which one? Was it the domestic worker or was it the thieves? Because that's also gender-based violence, right? They're males. That's gender. Anyway, did you hear about this one, Dumo? And if you did, what are your thoughts, other than obviously the ANC is imploding?
Right. I heard about it. I think clearly there's obviously an agenda from the Zuma faction or whatever anti-Ramaphosa faction, to be a bit more precise. I think that what they're trying to establish, obviously, is a precedent going into the conference that's going to happen this year, the elective conference that's going to happen this year. So clearly, if Ramaphosa has a lot of charges stacked up against him, it's something that they can use as a way to say that he should no longer be the president of the ANC and so forth. So I think now, given the stash and let me not say the stash, the allegations of the stash, because of course.
No. There's no allegations. Ramaphosa's admitted that the money was there and they didn't report it. He admitted that publicly. That's the only thing he said about it. That's the only thing they've said about it. So that's not alleged. Now, all the other stuff's alleged, drugs, big game hunting, human trafficking. We said all that. Anyway, no, but I have no idea where the money came from. Nor does the South African Treasury Department have any idea where the money. We've yet to find any documentation that this Forex transaction was reported to South African authorities, nor have we found any indication of Cyril Ramaphosa's tax return reporting this income. Anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
I mean, just one more point. Sorry, Chris.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
I think
it's our show, man. You can interrupt me. I'll just drown you out if I don't like it. Same with you, Koketso. Jump in when you're ready, man.
Another point I'd just like to make about this is that I think also the way the story unfolded, I think given what happened, I think that the money that was on the farm was not reported, and I do believe, and there was also allegations that Ramaphosa was actually speaking to the Namibian president about finding these people and tracking them and everything like that. There's a lot of juicy information there, and I think so now the question is, let's assume that Ramaphosa, all the allegations are true, just for the sake of argument.
Okay.
Now, why would Ramaphosa want to do something like that? Well, it's very clear, because if he reported this to the police, right, then the police would find other things and he could get charged for other things as well. They may find more foreign currency and say, well, what's this foreign currency for, and everything like that, and then he gets into trouble. So it was in his best interest that he finds these people, interrogates them, gets his money back, and then afterwards
pays them off, green mail.
Yeah, like, hey man, sorry for torturing you and stuff. Here's 150 grand. Like, wow, Yeah,
of course, giving money to thieves who aren't very discreet about their spending habits is probably not a wise plan. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
He buys a 1.8 million Mercedes. Give me a break.
Jeez.
He couldn't afford bus fare the week prior. Sounds like a BE tender entrepreneur. Go ahead, Koketso.
This is the hill I'm dying on, right? For me, if he's really a law-abiding citizen, right?
Yes.
Like he promises he is. If he's the sweet angel, innocent lamb that he's portrayed himself to be, then why not report it? Unless, of course, there is something to hide, right? And that's basically my point of contention here. The first one is actually, what are you doing with that much cash, cold hard cash in the first place? Never mind that it's foreign currency, but what are you doing with all that cash, even if it was in rands?
Exactly.
What are you doing with it? What purpose do you have for?
Why is it stuffed in your sofa? Why isn't it in a bank or in a closet or in a vault or in a safe?
So that when guests come in, it's not, it's not in front of them,
No, Koketso. Look, they stuff it in plastic. They wrap in plastic. They put it under the sofa cushions to lift your spine up. It takes the pressure so you don't get lumbago.
So that's what happens when you get to.
You hadn't considered that possibility. Listen, I read Melanie Ververt's op-ed on this. A2, Cyril, she carried the water. I mean, well, it's got to be a plausible explanation. It's not possible the president is a crook. Okay, so I'm just trying to help Cyril out here. It's for lumbago, man. It's helping with your lumbago. Hey, listen, guys,
they're just carrying his water.
Exactly.
They're really just carrying his water, nothing more.
Now, we talk about allegations and things. There's either one thing is true or the other thing is true. You can't both be true. So when Ramaphosa's office admits that there was a theft and that money was stolen, okay, they've admitted that's factual now. So Arthur Fraser's allegations, at least on that point, are correct. Regardless of how he came by the information, that's a whole different story and not germane. Although that people are trying to, smoke and mirrors. Look at Arthur Fraser, he's a criminal. He should be charged too. So what? Go ahead and charge him. I don't care about that. We're talking about this. He's got prima facie evidence of it. Video, documents, audio recordings. He's either a really good Hollywood filmmaker or he's got the stuff. Anyway, so here's the thing. The SAPs do an annual report, an unclassified public disclosure report about SAP services and responses, calls they had, crimes they respond to, crimes investigating, their budget, their manpower, all that stuff. Well, in there's a report in the Presidential Protection Unit because they're responsible for that stuff, right? Because it relates to crime and security. So in the year that covered that theft in 2020, they report 0 intrusions at any VIP residence, including the president and deputy president, all the residents they protect. So either SAPS is lying that there was no break-in at any VIP location in that year, 2020, or there was a break-in and it wasn't reported to police. So there you go. It's just like,
they're either covering it up or they ignorant.
Right. Either the SAPs are covering it up or Ramaphosa's covering it up. But somebody's covering something up, and my money's on Ramaphosa. I mean, listen, it's like Zuma. Judge Hillary Squires tried Sheikh Shabir, found Sheikh Shabir guilty, said if Zuma was in this court on trial and a defendant, he too would be guilty because it's obvious that he took dirty money. I mean, my words, not Hillary Squires' words. But the point here is you can't have both. Either the SAPs are lying or Ramaphosa's lying. And not that I trust SAPs, but my money's on it. And it comes to the same thing where we're getting this mealy-mouthed bureaucratic response from the Department of Injustice and from SAPs about, well, the Namibians didn't go through the proper channels. They didn't submit this paper, the form Z2756, in triplicate with carbon paper and mimeographed and ran off and sent to us and delivered by diplomatic ballots. Shut up. Look, the law enforcement ties between Namibia, Botswana, Zimbabwe, and South Africa are like this. Listen, when I went to South Africa in 2000, I thought I was being chased by Interpol because every time I was in South Africa, I had my car, I was stopped by South African police, South African SAPs who were working with the Botswana Police Service. They were looking for car thefts. They stopped me when I went into Botswana. I was in Gabs for a few days. When I left Gabs, they stopped me at Pakalani. Then I drove to Francistown. They beat me to Francistown. Then when I left Francistown and went to Maun, they were in Maun. The same cops. I started addressing the guy by his name and greeting him in Afrikaans because he was South African. These cops work together all the time. I don't want to hear this, they didn't submit it properly. Somebody's covering something up, and my money is not on Namibians covering up. I'm going to trust Namibian police, although a police officer was complicit in helping that guy get into the country illicitly. Anyway, this one's not on SAPs. This is all on Cyril Ramaphosa and his abuse of authority and power. And what say you, Dumo?
Yeah, I agree. I think that this looks like an abuse of power, if the allegations are true, of course. And I think that just going forward, it'll be very interesting to see how he handles this. Because now, let's say the Hawks and everyone investigate and they find that, look, this guy should go to court. It has to go to the NPA, also known as the No Prosecutions
You mean the home of Busaziwe Makwabane. Oh, wait, she doesn't work there right now. She was sacked the day after she submitted 31 questions.
That's the public protector's office.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm confusing. Yeah. NPA. I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right. Public protector. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Sorry.
So, I give them the name of the No Prosecutions Authority because they don't prosecute the big guys, ever since the Zonda report has been released.
Well, today's the last one. That might be something Cyril's going to talk about as well. The last version of the Zonda report is supposed to come out today.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
But it's apparently delayed as well. The president already has it, but that could be that's probably the most plausible reason why he's going to address the nation. He has to mention it because it was given to him apparently yesterday even.
Mm-hmm.
Apparently it was given to him yesterday, and he was going to announce to the nation that he's received it and everything today. But yeah, media houses are still waiting for that official invite from the president's office to say, hey, let's come talk about the report. They've done it for all the others. So, of course, there's an expectation that when he gets the last one, he's going to do much of the same thing, and he's taking his time. So people are speculating that there's something in there that might actually, torpedo either the ruling party or either the president himself or some of his close buddies.
Well, I heard that at the office supply stores in Cape Town and in Gauteng, of course, the president's official residence is in Gauteng and Pretoria, but the president's palace. But in those two locations, I heard reports today that there was a run on whiteout at game in the office supply section. They couldn't find any whiteout. You think that might have something to do with the Zondo Commission report? Yeah, covering up that.
When you said whiteout. Wait, that's Tippex, right?
Yes, Tippex liquid paper whiteout. Okay. That's the brand America. No, the original creation was America. It was called whiteout because it's white over there. Oh, but of course, that's racist, so we can't call it whiteout. Like blackout. Blackout's racist. Did you know that? I just learned that it's racist.
Right.
Oh dear God!
So they don't have it now because of that report.
Yeah, I know. But this is the ANC.
They change.
But the ANC, they don't even realize it's digitized.
Hear me out. Right?
Okay, good.
Put the Tippex on the screen.
All this racism stuff is so ridiculous that I'm just wondering if they're going to change the color of the 8 ball eventually, because remember, it's the white ball that hits the black ball to the game.
Exactly. And then they're going to try to use nuclear weapons to change the rotation of the Earth because day chases night away.
Oh my God!
Oh, go woke. Stay broke. Oh my goodness. Yeah. No, look, it's like I said, folks, I know you're listening here. There's never a shortage of material. We haven't even begun to delve into the Ukraine, where the government has banned the opposition party. Well, there's a democracy for you. And just a few days ago, they banned the use of Russian and Russian literature, music, everything from 1991 forward. That's what a country that's comfortable in its skin does. It bans ethnic minorities. It bans the use of their language, and it bans opposition political parties. I just see in 1976, 75, the National Party introduced Afrikaans as language of instruction because they were very comfortable in their control of the country. So, any parallels there? Anyway, no, but seriously, did you guys see that Ukraine has banned the opposition party? Who are we giving tens of billions of dollars to here? This Zelinsky character. I've been raising this question since the outset of it. Now, of course, the apologists will go, "Oh, you're pro-Russian. You're an Azov Nazi." No, Russia's not a nice place. Vladimir Putin is a bad guy. I've always said that. Especially when, I saw Barack Hussein Obama caught a microphone leading into Medvedev and telling him, because that was the caretaker term that Medvedev stepped in because by law Putin couldn't continue. And he says, tell Vlad after the election in November, I'll have more leeway to do what he wants. Ooh, remember that being caught on film? Yeah. Where was that? Nobody's upset about that. But anyway, so yeah. I've always said Vladimir Putin's a bad guy since he was in Leningrad. But anyway, St. Petersburg. Sorry, I fall back to my Soviet eras.
Look, most people don't know the name changes between Leningrad and Stalingrad. But yeah, look, that news, I did come across it actually, and I came across it from someone who was making it a point to inform those who were listening that this is exactly what Zelensky's government in the Ukraine had done. Of course, all the media outlets are basically begging United States Congress to send more aid to Ukraine. None of them reported on this. And funny enough, you'd expect people who claim to be pro-democracy, even call themselves Democrats in some instances, to basically raise the red flag here, and they're not even doing that. So it does scream really that there's something bigger at play here. I don't know what it is, of course, but yeah, there's definitely something bigger at play here. And I'm now leaning towards the opinion that, look, if they really wanted to fight a war with Russia, then why go through all the effort to make Ukraine the proxy? Why don't they just come out and say that, right, we are taking Putin to war? why not just come out and say it and then, clarify your position very clearly? Or are they afraid of ostracizing the rest of the world for being effectively a bully who's willing to scorch the earth all the way through one country and several others, instead of just going via Alaska? And I know it's a difficult terrain to navigate even from a naval perspective, but why scorch Europe so you can get to Moscow? So that's just my thoughts on it. But I did come across that news, not from the main media, but from someone who literally wanted to make a point about what's actually happening that you'll never hear about.
Well, let's talk about a point you'll never hear about, too, and I've been talking about it since the outset. 72 hours after Russia invaded Ukraine in the cold depths of winter, when the soil was frozen in February, when we all know that wheat is harvested and shipped around the world from Ukraine, we're already hearing about food shortages, sunflower oil prices, skyrocketing wheat prices. That's speculation. There were no food shortages. The only reason there was a food shortage anywhere is because people might have been hoarding, expecting something, but there was no shortage of grain. And speaking of which, here in the Northern Hemisphere of the United States, I went out and did a video recently showing people the vast fields of grain here in central Pennsylvania. Not exactly known as a major grain producer, but just because of coincidence, because of crop rotation between soybeans, maize, and wheat as they rotate, lots of fields this year are in wheat. So it's going to be a lot of wheat produced in the United States this year, one of the world's largest producers. Ukraine produces less than 10% of the world's exports in wheat. Russia does produce about 20%, so that could have an impact. But let me ask you this question, guys. Have you noticed how we're shipping French artillery pieces and their rounds? We're shipping armored vehicles. We're shipping tons and tons and tons of military hardware in to fuel this war, yet complaining that we can't get the grain out. Why don't you take the empty vehicles that took all the weapons in and take the grain out the other direction? Use the trains, use the trucks. We got 3 million Ukrainians out of Ukraine on car, on foot. How is it we can't get the grain out? Some begins to wonder if there isn't just a red herring here. What's Dumo? What do you think about that one?
Yeah, I think clearly there's an interest to keep the war going. I think personally, the United States, especially the Biden administration, Biden wanted Ukraine to join NATO. So this thing, goes way back. In 2008, in that conference in Bucharest, they stated that Ukraine and Georgia will join NATO. Russia was not happy about it. Biden wanted this thing to happen. Now he's president, and it's quite clear that he wants this thing to happen very soon. And it looks like he will stop at nothing. But then on the other end, you got Putin, who's also saying, hey, I don't want Ukraine to join NATO, and therefore he invaded Ukraine. Now, I think that, from the American perspective, they need to keep an excuse to keep the war going, right? And they'll just say that, well, look, we need to, do it for Ukraine and so forth. But then when they look at how it impacts other things, like the grain, for example, right? They can use those resources to grow food and stuff like that, but they don't. They push it into the war. And I don't know. And this is going to be pretty bad, because this war can go on for months and even years. And at some point, let's say Putin starts losing, he may even use nuclear weapons, So now the question is really, at some point, it's going to have to stop, because look, people are going to get tired of the war, number one. Number two, if it's people, it's probably be the Ukrainians. Number two, I think it's going to actually impact on other areas as well in the world. So I think when it comes to the grain situation, look, it could be that it is a red herring, but at the same time, I do think that the ultimate goal is to keep the war going for the United States. They're going to pump more money in there. They're going to try win this thing. But against the Russian army with a lot of people, I'm not so sure. But yeah, it's a tough situation to be in. But really, we don't need to have this war. It should end sometime soon.
Yeah, I'm not so sure we want to win the thing. I think your first point was valid. I think that Biden profits by this thing continuing. Look, the price of petrol increased. 75% of the current price increase came before Ukraine invasion, because of Joe Biden's failed macroeconomic policies and his assault on the energy sector here in America. And so now he has a convenient excuse, and he tries to blame that. So between transgender nonsense that they're stirring up, and the abortion issue that they're stirring up, and gun control, this is the fourth rail that they're trying to use to salvage what's going to come in November, but they're going to be savage in November. We just saw a rhino Republican who was defeated by a fresh-faced newcomer, young lady, who got 71% of the primary vote. She just obliterated him in a primary. This is a long-serving senator from the South, and just destroyed him. Roy Blunt, he's gone. He's toast. He's out. He won't be a senator come January, regardless of what happens in November, because someone else is going to win now. It's and it goes on and on here. The rhinos are feeling the ground shift under their feet. Ask Liz Cheney about this, Koketso. Yeah, she's Liz Cheney. She is down by over 30 points to her primary opponent, despite all the efforts to try. They tried to subpoena her opponent's campaign manager to talk about January 6th. Talk about distractions. That has nothing to do with running for congressional race in Wyoming. But no, the Democrats, all things being equal, assuming that the choosing of 2022 is a legitimate one and there aren't fraudulent voting and all that, everything goes, they will get obliterated. The House would see, if there's no shenanigans, 100 additional Republicans. I guarantee it, if we had that situation, but I don't think we're going to have. Now, the Senate's more complicated because there's some unpopular people running, but anyway, the Democrats have lost the House. They may lose the House before them. I mean, they had these special elections. We just saw Mayra Flores win a congressional district in Texas that no Republican has won since it was created 135 years ago. That's kind of like, the Labor Party under Jeremy Corbyn losing a seat in the Northeast and the Midlands that they had never lost in over a century, and they lost it to the Tories last time, although the Tories don't deserve it, but that's a whole other story. Anyway, Koketso, what are your thoughts on this whole situation?
Yeah, it's a few things actually stand out here. You'll remember how the Dems were actually campaigning against how minority voters were really backing the Democrats, complete with concert shows, the works,
Mm-hmm.
I still remember seeing an article, this must have been circa 2019, where you had actual Latin Americans who had come in through the border legitimately saying, we don't want illegitimate people crossing the border, because why should we have to go through the entire process of justifying our existence and our, effectively our stay in the United States? And then only for a couple of years later, for some guy to decide it's a good idea if we just open the border for any and all anyway. It's very similar to how post-slavery, post the abolishment of slavery, you had, I'd say, your black people who were smart enough, they quickly got out of the former plantations and decided to go make a name for themselves elsewhere. A couple of generations later, they are then followed by effectively those who didn't have the smarts. And now you got a situation where you've got the so-called enterprising blacks who left a culture that they didn't want to actually raise their kids in. And now that culture has actually followed them to wherever they are. A similar thing with people of Latin descent, of course. And irritated by all of this that's been happening, they've actually, you've got someone who's come out and said, you know what, screw this, I'm actually going to run for office and actually try to change the system from within. And lo and behold, the support base she got was astronomical. No one saw it coming. I certainly didn't see it coming as well. And this is really a sign of things to come. I remember mentioning as well that later on in the year when the voting happens, I do also expect a bloodbath for the Democrats. And I don't know if you remember, Chris, but it was on your show where I mentioned late last year that actually, it's my firm belief that you've got those who basically said, we may officially take the loss as the Republican Party, fine, but there's no way in heaven, earth, or hell that this batch of Democrats do not mess up. And all they have to do is basically sit back and just wait for those primaries. Just sit back, let them mess up. You don't even have to push them to mess up. Just sit back, let them mess up, and you'll get all your votes back and then some. And that's exactly what's proving to happen. This a couple of months after Biden got into office, you saw what happened with Afghanistan. It's not being mentioned in the media, but people have very long memories. If you're a parent, or if you know someone who was actually served and was out there effectively risking their lives to ensure democracy in another country, if you know someone personally who basically just got pulled out of that, and then you watched what happened on the news, I don't think you're going to forget that very easily, regardless of whatever's getting thrown your way. Pride Month this, and guns are this, and all of that stuff. You're not going to forget that when it's time to actually go cast your vote. And I believe Dems are going to see a bloodbath. Let's see what the Biden administration does to save face. I still want to see what they're going to do with the deputy president right now.
You mean the vice president?
Yeah, the vice president.
Yeah, you guys. No, South Africa. I thought you were talking about Mabuza there. Yeah, I'd like to know what they're going to do with Mabuza. I would love to know. But no, but Kamala Harris, she's got a math problem, man. I mean, for someone that was the district attorney in San Francisco and then the attorney general in California and now the vice president, she's not very good at math. Now people say, wait a second, Chris, she's just trying to make a point. She gave a surprise appearance at the African American History Museum there in D.C., the latest museum, which is right there, prominent place. I've never gone in because every time I go, the queues are really long. Everybody wants to go there. Anyway, so I'll get there eventually. I've been outside it. But she went and showed up on Juneteenth holiday, which is a bogus, bullshit, made-up nonsense, which undermines American history. Yes. And we can talk about that in a second. But she shows up and she says, America, we've had slavery for 400 years. Hold on. Okay, so all right, let's go with the fact that in 1619, a Dutch ship landed in Jamestown and to get rid of its cargo sold off some African slaves. And they were bought by the Jamestown planters. So 1619. That wasn't the United States. That was the Americas, and that was a British colony, okay? Yeah. Yes, and my ancestors are there. The first royal governor of the Jamestown colony of Virginia was Sir Francis Wyatt, my 17th grade uncle. So you can blame me. Bring it on. I'm responsible. Guilty for the sins of my ancestors. But anyway, we built this continent. That's right. At Starship, we built this city. We built this continent. Anyway, but moving on. So, slaves come in 1619. Slavery is introduced into what became the United States. In 1807, the United States Congress banned the importation of slaves, ending the international slave trade. There were people who tried to slip in with running that with ships, and if they were caught, in fact, there's a famous case of a captain who was caught dumping his load of slaves in Louisiana. They caught him when he tried to sink his boat, tried to flee from the Navy, and he was hung. A white captain hung for bringing African slaves into America. Anyway, so we ended the slave trade externally, importation. You could still buy and sell people inside the country, but you couldn't bring them in legally. In 1865, on the 6th of December, not Juneteenth, the 6th of December, the states not in rebellion, 3/4 of them ratified the 13th Amendment, which officially legally ended enslavement and legal bondage in this country. So that's 246 years, not 400. So she's got a problem. But even I take issue with that because the United States didn't become a country until we declared our independence on the 4th of July, 1776. So it's more like 89 years that we had slavery legally in America. Of course, her point is that, well, black people are still slaves today. Really? A lot of black folks got a hell of a lot more money than I do, living a lot better life than I've, and got a lot more access and influence than I've ever had. And, all the African immigrants that I know, and I know several hundred black African immigrants who've come here, especially from West Africa, guys, they're all doing pretty well. And most of them don't hang out with black Americans because the culture doesn't quite jive with what they know.
Yeah, so it's a problematic culture that they want to leave behind,
Mm-hmm. Well, the folks coming from West Africa don't want any part of, for the most part, don't want any part of the broken culture that's here. Now, for those listening, I'm not denigrating African American culture. We got jazz from that culture. We've got religion, faith. We've got many things that came out of a culture of slavery, that came out of the close families, came out of that historical tradition. Also, things that were carried over from African languages became part of English as a consequence of the introduction of slaves from Africa here. Lots of things that have enriched our kaleidoscope, our embroidery of our life here. But anyone who's honest about the so-called black community in America, there's no such thing, but let's just go with the 45 million black Americans as if they're all the same. The black community have to admit there's a problem. 78% of children are born illegitimately and raised by single parents. That's a problem. That's a problem. I gave up the stats the other day talking about 63% of teen suicides committed in single parent families. 71% of children admitted for mental health care in single parent families. 71% of those kids. And the list goes on and on and on. Incarcerated, it's 85% of those incarcerated who are teenagers are from single parent families. The list is, this isn't some religious point, it's just a statement of fact. People who have two parents, generally speaking, have a far better chance at a decent life than a single parent. No strike against a single parent. More power to them, especially single mothers. It's a hard road to hoe. They do the best they can in most cases, but let's just be honest. Two parent families are better off. Dumo, any thoughts on any of that?
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, if you look at that two-parent households do better. And of course, as you mentioned earlier, we're not looking down upon single parents. I mean, of course, there are many single parents who are single parents, not for the want of trying, of course.
Yeah.
So we have to keep that in mind, and obviously mention it, because you know how people are. The woke people are just going to just take what we say out of context and put a sound bite and say, look what these guys said. Oh, they're mocking all these individuals. Oh, look, you know, all the time, So so I'm just saying it just to be safe in that regard. So yeah, I think when it comes to that, we have to be honest about it, and we have to address it, the reality. And I think one of the main contributors to that is the welfare state. The welfare state, again,
enables.
It enables a woman to marry the state, and then the state becomes the daddy.
No, hold on, Dumo. Sorry to interrupt you here. I mean, look, I can't let you bring in the blackface of white supremacy there. I know all about Larry Elder. He's a coconut. He's an Uncle Tom, man. I've heard all about that guy.
Yeah, so I mean, Larry Elder, he pushes this point home very well.
He does,
and it's a fact. And I mean, and let's be honest. I mean, the welfare state has not reduced poverty as
it's expanded it.
Yeah. Well, was it Lyndon Johnson? I don't know.
Lyndon. Well, technically, this all started with King Franklin Delano Roosevelt, with all his public works projects and Social Security and the introduction of that, and the Works Projects Administration, Make Work, all this stuff. Roosevelt extended the depression by a decade. If he hadn't been president, we would have been at it far sooner. Unfortunately, people didn't see that at the time. And the only reason we got out of the depression was because we went to war. The Second World War lifted us out of depression, made us the strongest country in the world, industrially and every other respect. But yeah, no, that's so that's when it sort of started. Let the government take care of you. It's a government's responsibility. Who is the government? The government is an organization that steals money from your pocket and my pocket to determine winners and losers. That's what the government is. And their job is to ensure a level playing field, and so that no one is taken advantage of unfairly. That's their only job. That's what government's there for. It's not there to, fund Robert Mapplethorpe's, urinating on Christ, statue he made. It's not for the National Endowment for the Arts. It's not there to pick winners and losers. It's not there to demonize people, entrepreneurs, for the success and claim that they exploited people. It's there to prevent people from exploiting people, not lie about it. It's just, so that's when it started. But the real impetus you're getting at, and this is correct, is the Great Society. Lyndon Baines Johnson, the racist, vile, foul-mouthed president, Lyndon Baines Johnson, who said the most vile things about black Americans, about how they could secure their vote into perpetuity. And he was correct, unfortunately. Lyndon Baines Johnson started the Great Society. There are many, many, many more million Americans living in poverty today as a sheer number, because the country's so much bigger, but also the percentage is higher today than it was in the 1960s. It was high in the 30s, 40s, but by the 60s, most people weren't living in poverty. Now we have tens of millions of children living in poverty because of the Great Society, the welfare state, and it's gone on and on and on. We started to correct that when we had a Republican Congress in Clinton with the Welfare Reform Act, the workfare and all that. It started to curb those excesses, and we started reducing the rolls. But Barack Hussein Obama proudly boasted. He reminds me of Cyril Ramaphosa. The Sasa grant, we have 46% of South Africans receive assistance from the state. And you're proud of that? You should be ashamed and embarrassed. Yeah. And Barack Obama was excited and crowed about how we brought 45 million Americans onto the food stamp rolls. What? You're happy about that? 45 million people living on food stamps? In South Africa, 46% of the population lives off of public assistance. That means that's almost 30 million people. That's sad. There weren't 30 million people living on public assistance under the National Party, regardless of their race.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I think and I think just going to the ANC, it's the same model, right? It's you get people dependent on the state, give them the grants, especially the child grants, and guess what? They will vote for you all the time. And that's the reality, and that's what we're seeing right now. And also, what's the worst thing is that we're going to pay higher taxes because of it, and also we're going to have to take out more debt because of that. We cannot sustain. You can't sustain this for any longer. And if you look at our GDP to debt ratio, I mean, when Mbeki was president, the debt was paid off. Then Zuma rocks up. We pay more for social grants. We take out debt to pay for it. And look where we are today. Now we want to make the COVID-19 grant permanent now. That is madness. And then they want NHI on top of that. And then they want
minimum wage.
And we're done. We're done.
Yeah.
Just live under a rock, guys. It's gonna get worse if these guys get their way. But let's see what happens in 2024. Let's see what happens.
2024. I heard an interview, a part of an interview on Worldview with John Steenhusien. That'd be the guy whose party won't let me interview him. They're terrified, apparently, of me interviewing him. But John Steenhusien talking about, 2024 when we get the ANC under the majority. Newsflash, DA. The ANC is not a majority party now. They got 46% of the 11.5 million people who bothered to vote. They only got 13% of the eligible voters to vote for them in 2021. If they're such an exciting party who's changing lives for the better, why did only 13% of voters pull a lever for them? And it gets worse for the opposition parties. I mean, the DA went from 4 million votes in 2016 to 2.5 million votes. They were eviscerated. ANC lost 31% of its support, but the DA lost 37%. That speaks volumes about what's going on in South Africa, apathy, and people just turned off and frustrated and not expecting any change from the government. But newsflash for John Steenhusien, the DA, the ANC is not a majority party already. They're just resting on past glory. I mean, it's not really glory, but you get my point. They are in control of parliament and provincial legislatures because of past elections. If an election was held today, they'd lose their ass. They'd be gone. Sorry for the profanity, Koketso. I know you're a man of faith, so I apologize for that.
I was just making a face at the numbers, really. Look, we found ourselves at a place where, I don't know if you've been following Gayton McKenzie.
Oh, yes, I'm trying to interview him.
Yeah. So Gayton's an interesting character, right? He's actually come out the other day and said that, look, he's only doing the bare minimum. But the bar set so low that when you do the bare minimum, you're effectively a rock star. And that's exactly what is happening here. So you've got the Democratic Alliance's strategy was to say, look, let's take the big cities, and then we'll work our way from there. Let's show face in the big cities, and then that's how we will potentially gather some more votes. The smaller parties are saying, no, let's leave the big cities alone. You want votes there so you can be part of the coalition, of course, but rather target the ignored corners of the country where you can actually make a big difference with very little effort. And that's exactly what McKenzie's doing.
This is what I said for 2 years to the DA, to the Freedom Front, to the IFP. I said the Northern Cape, parts of the Karoo, places in Northwest. You can win these places, you can defeat the ANC, and then you can prove. That's why the 2020 municipal elections were so important to South Africa, is you can prove to 3 generations of South Africans the born frees, that someone other than the ANC can be in government and they can be accountable and they can achieve things. And you can show tangible results. Not like the DA, look, Cape Town's the best governed town or city in the country. Okay, great. Then stop the murders in the Cape Flats. Come on, guys. So, no, I'm sorry to interrupt, Koketso, but I had to get out there. I had to make the point that I was right all along about this.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a good point. I think all it needed really was for someone to actually take that as is and actually execute on that, and that's exactly what McKenzie's doing. Now, what's not being said is, if you look at the makeup of urbanization in South Africa at the very least, right? If someone can turn around my rural community where I come from, or where my parents come from, where I go home every Christmas, that kind of sends the message to me, who's in suburbia, to say, you know what, I kind of like this part. I may not identify with them fully, but I've seen the work they're doing for my mom's house and my mom's community back home and where my cousins are. So why not give them a chance even in suburbia? So it looks like that might just be a working strategy. The big question is, where are they going to get their votes from? Because South Africans are shockingly non-voters, if I can put it like that. So perhaps they will, the Progressive Alliance, I believe they're called, McKenzie's party, perhaps they're going to actually siphon off votes from some of the other parties. And then the big question remains, are they going to take votes away from the ANC, which I think is more likely, or are they going to take votes away from parties like the DA and the slowly dying good party, Patricia de Lille's single ticket into parliament, of course. I still have a hedged bet here that she's going to eventually join the ANC before the next national election. And that bet is going to make me fabulously rich, of course. And I'm saying it again here.
Did you say Patricia de Lille? Okay, she's going to jump ship and join the ANC again.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, she's going to join the ANC.
Well, she's basically in it now. I mean, they're giving her a ministerial post.
Yeah, they've given her a ministerial post, and she's basically betrayed her voter base. And you saw what the voter base did in the last local government election. They all jumped ship and went over to either Progressive Alliance or some of your more smaller parties that are community-based, like your Al Jamaa, etc. So I fully expect her to join the ANC. I got this tip from my father, actually. He's the first one to actually mention this to me. And the more I think about it, the more I see it becoming true. And right now she's hemorrhaging some of her party, her party's leadership. They're also quitting left, right, and center. But of course, the media is not going to mention that because it's only fashionable to mention it when it's someone from the DA resigning.
True.
But hey.
But no, listen, look, she doesn't need to worry. I mean, listen, they've got an appeal in the good party. It's the bad party. I'm curious. I'm trying to sign up and be a party leader because apparently I, too, can partake in orgies in hotels paid for by the party. I'm looking forward to that. You see that? Orgies, the good is the bad party. I'm telling you, man, they've got orgies and sex parties and stuff. Yeah. So, like, two quick super chats from Brett Sessoms. It's salty cracks here in YouTube these days, so I got to get these. Brett gave $1.99 and says he hopes that the Federal Bureau of Incompetence, that's my description, not Brett's. The Federal Bureau of Incompetence would investigate Cyril. DA wants them to. Yeah, I saw it. Steenhusien wants them to investigate. And then Brett had given another $1.99 and says, will more black South Africans and coloreds vote Freedom Front Plus in 2024? Yeah, I think so. I think it's not a hard sell. It was an impossible sell 30 years ago, with good reason, I think, for the Freedom Front Plus. But the Freedom Front Plus of 1994 is not the Freedom Front Plus of 2022. This party, under Dr. Peter Groenewald, is more a centrist party than any other major party in South Africa. Would you guys agree or disagree with that, Dumo? Do you think they're centrist? I mean, they've got some right-of-center platforms, faith and family, but most of what they talk about is right in there in the middle.
Yeah, agreed. They do cut things down the middle. I would say they are center-right. Yeah, I mean, and they're getting a lot of voters from the DA, which I think is a very telling sign that they probably are in the center. Because, you know, one of the biggest lies that we heard, I mean, well, not biggest lies, but let's say the narrative that we heard when DA lost voters to the FF Plus or Freedom Front Plus was that the far right factions of the DA have finally left. That's what happened. I'm like, nah, I doubt it. I mean, I've listened to them. I've listened to their policies and stuff like that. No, they are on the right, but definitely center. If they're getting a lot of, I mean, I know a lot of people who are DA guys and they went to Freedom Front Plus. So I think for me, they may even get more black voters as well. That'll be very interesting. I don't know. I mean, they look very Afrikaans, you know what I mean? So not that it will work against them, but I think people may see that as like, oh, you know, you joining the enemy, especially from the black side type of thing. So, so I think that I mean, like I said, I'm not saying it may not work against them. But
no, it's a fair point.
I can see that perception.
Yeah, it's a fair point. I think that stigma is less prevalent in the color communities in South Africa. There'd be less of a stigma joining the Freedom Front Plus, and we'll see more of that. We've seen some prominent colored South Africans join the Freedom Front Plus, but we'll see where they go. Two more super chats came in while we did that. So before I give Koketso a chance to respond, let me address those. Patrick gave 140 Rand super chat. Says YouTube should allow you to contribute your own tip. Great show, sirs. Well, they do let me tip, but then they take 30% of it, so it really isn't a good idea. It's like Ronaldo, his wife gave him a super chat like a year and a half ago. He's like, don't do that. She's like, why? Because they just took 30% of it. We lost money because you gave me money. And he was right. Erica Sponeman gave 80 Rand super chat. She says, why do you think the cities are quicker to abandon the ANC while rural South African municipalities are slower to jump ship? My town has been without water for the past 5 years, yet hasn't affected their votes much. Before Koketso responds, let me just jump in and say my thoughts on that. One reason why cities tend to change more easily than rural areas is regardless where you find yourself in the world, rural areas typically are conservative. Regardless of skin pigmentation, orientation, or religion, rural areas tend to be slower changing, more, for lack of a better term, bucolic, and there's a slower pace of change in rural areas normally the world over. Urban centers are typically full of fast-moving events, changing things, lots of different cultures and personalities come in, and big ideas, mass communications, rapid this, rapid that. If you live in the Karoo, you're going to go to the same pub that the same people go to, and there's only one in your one-horse town, literally speaking. But if you live in Hillbrow, I mean, I wouldn't recommend it, but if you live in Hillbrow, there's a nightclub here, there's a nightclub there, there's a nightclub here, there's this, there's that, there's events going on, there's cricket pitch, at Wanderers, the night down the road from there, you've got rugby and Ellis, but you got everything's going on, it's all happening. And so the pace of life is very different, and that explains, I think, part of the reason why urban voters are easier to change their positions. Now, I'm going to get Koketso in here and see what he thinks about that.
Yeah, so I partly answered this very question on Sunday on Big Daddy Liberty's show. Yeah, so go out and catch that stream for my more expanded explanation, I guess. But look, I think it comes down to the problems that people are facing. The big one, of course, being unemployment. So again, shout out to the IRR who said that unemployment is not, the biggest problem that South Africans are concerned about. Sorry, that racism is not the biggest problem, but right at the top of the list is actually unemployment. Yeah. So, look, I mean, me who's in Edenvale, which is east of Johannesburg, deep in suburbia, look, you cannot sway me by promising me a job. I already have a job. I'm full-time employed. I've been full-time employed and have close to a decade of working experience already now. So you can't sway me by promising me a job. You can't sway me by promising me a grant because, again, I'm full-time employed. You can't sway me with free education. I already have my degree. You can't sway me with a lot of the promises that the ANC is making. But you know who you can sway with those promises? Someone in rural South Africa whose town is basically dilapidating very slowly. Someone who doesn't have a job, someone who's struggling to find a job, someone who is basically living off welfare. That's the person who loves the message of a better life for all. That's the person who believes Cyril Ramaphosa when he says that we are going to create 400,000 jobs, 800,000 jobs, 1 million jobs. That's the person who believes that when the president says we're going to build 1 million houses in the next 2 years, etc., etc., etc. And that's why they vote for the ANC. People in the city, I don't believe you. I'm not going to listen to all of that. In fact, when you make these promises, you are agitating me because that translates directly into the tax money that comes out of my payslip, an increase on my tax that I pay for simply living here. And of course, the cost of living goes up. But, there's something to be said about the quality of life. And I think Americans are the ones who are expressing this well in terms of rising gas prices, etc. People don't want to downgrade their standard of living. I can put up with the same standard of living for decades, and not have a significant improvement in the way I live. That's not a problem. But once you start telling me to downgrade, if I'm taking a vacation every year, and then suddenly I can't drive down to the coast because petrol is too expensive, that's a problem. Something I do every year religiously. And if I can't do that because it's unaffordable, that's a problem, and I'm not going to vote for you. So it goes back to, okay, so who's driving down to the coast every year? It's people in the cities, who afford some of the little luxuries that, a lot of people don't actually have access to. Things like catching a flight, for example. It's people in the cities. So once you can't sway them if you're the ANC, but you can easily go out and pick the low-hanging fruit out in the rural areas where, it's, someone who doesn't know better. They will believe your lie when you start making all of these grand promises, of course. But out here, hell no.
No, it's an interesting perspective, and I'd have to agree with it, Koketso, 100%. Yeah, absolutely. It's an angle I think a lot of people don't realize. Of course, there are some universal things that affect everybody, particularly in South Africa. Crime affects everyone these days. Even the people behind big walls and with security guards are still being hit by crime. So crime is pervasive. I mean, you can't drive on the road without the risk of someone throwing a cinder block out to disable your car so they can rape and murder you. I mean, that's happening too. And that's not an embellishment. That's a true story. It's been happening over a number of years. So crime, and another, of course, now is inflation. Unless you're uber wealthy, inflation is really biting into your life, as you just talked about. I mean, one of the reasons why I decided not to go to New York, New Jersey, it's in Newark this weekend for the Major League Rugby Championship game with press credentials is because, well, number one, because the Greekos are playing. I want to cover that. And the game is right after. I can't magically wind up in New York 3 hours later, an hour after my other game. But the other reason, frankly, was consideration is gasoline is almost $6 a gallon. I have to pay tolls and go up there. And that's going to cost me about $120 to make that trip. And I'm not going to get anything out of it other than I attended a final and got to do a couple interviews. So I'll do a broadcast here. It really makes a better outcome for me and hopefully get over that 1,000 subscriber threshold on my Rugby Senate channel. Hey, folks, you're listening to Nako, the Call of Africa. We'll be on for a little bit longer here. Well, we've gone through the first hour here with my co-host, Koketso Retsane. and Dumo Denga, and one person missing AWOL. We won't mention who that is. But anyway, so welcome to it. These guys are 2/3 of the Man Patriot crowd, if I've done my math correctly. 2 out of 3, that's 2/3, I think. And you can find them at Man Patriot on YouTube. They have fantastic conversations. You know, I find it interesting, guys. Wait, can I use that, or do I have to say everyone? Because that might be the wrong pronoun. I find it interesting, guys, that I actually have viewers who've never heard of either one of you guys or haven't heard about Man Patriot. So I'm happy to talk about your channel and promote that. You guys have really great stuff. Is it Tuesdays you're doing your show? I want to make sure we get that straight.
It's on Mondays.
Oh, Mondays. Why am I thinking Mondays, Tuesdays? Okay, well, go on Tuesdays. No, no.
That's fine.
No, because I can watch it after the fact, right? It still drives viewer numbers.
Yeah, they can do that, but they're gonna have to pay.
It's behind a paywall. Oh, that's what I'm doing wrong. I don't have anything behind a paywall. No wonder I can't afford petrol.
So the whole strategy is that we want more people to come watch us live. So
yeah, of course.
So come watch us live. It's free when it's live. But then if you miss us, you can still watch us, but you got to pay a small fee, right? And when you pay that small fee, you get access to all the other live streams, right, that we did before, and all the other Man Patriot podcast episodes and everything like that. So don't worry, it's not just to watch that one, it's to watch everything. So it's a really good deal, guys. It's a very good deal. And it's the first time I'm going to announce this, but if you do support us, you'll be able to call into our show. So there you go.
Cool.
There we go.
Can I get an even better deal if I give you the address of a couple more of Cyril's game farms where there's some cash hidden?
Please do.
I know some.
I'm rubbing my hands.
I know some Zimbabweans that are available for the heist. I'm not throwing shade on Zimbabweans. I only throw shade on ZANU-PF. That was a joke, folks. It's called satire. Get over it. By the way, folks, did you see? You probably didn't see this, but we had some shorts on this channel about the CEO of the Ramaphosa Palapala Savings Bank. Did you hear about that? Either one of you?
No. They have a savings bank?
Yeah, no, it's the Ramaphosa Palapala Savings Bank. And the CEO is Cornelius van der Laundering. We had him on the channel, and he was sought by authorities. And last seen, he claimed to be in the Northern Cape, but the vegetation was a little too green behind him to think it was. He said he was crossing at Bite Bridge. But I think he was headed for the Tlokwang border there for Gaborone. Going to hang out with Eric Masisi there. But Cornelius van der Laundering, the CEO of the Palapala Savings Bank. So anyway, just thought I'd share that with you guys. He's a wanted fugitive. I wouldn't say felon. He hasn't been convicted yet. But Cornelius van der Laundering. So anyway, had a little fun with that. Made some video shorts. One of them actually ran by a bush. I'm like, I'm in the Northern Cape now.
Concept, I like that.
It was hilarious, yeah. Well, last year, when Cyril said, oh, the SASA grants, we even have entrepreneurs who've taken the SASA grant and started a business. Okay, stop. If you have enough money to start a business with $21.50, okay, and be successful, then you didn't need the SASA grant in the first place. Exactly. You're misusing the SASA grant. So I made a video last year, and because I pick up aluminum cans to recycle them, and plus to get the rubbish off the roads, because I hate it's an eyesore. Usually leftists hate wankers, the ones that tell you the environment you're destroying, and then they toss their beer can out the car. Anyway, so I picked those things up. Oh, Andreas just become a member. Here's a salute for Andreas Selig from Baden-Württemberg in Germany. Danke sehr, Andreas, ist aber nett von dir. Herzlich willkommen bei uns hier auf Chris Wyatt Africa. Wir haben viele Programme auf unserer Sendung. Anyway, sorry about that, guys. I just thought I'd share that with Andreas. She's from Germany, so just broke into German there. But yeah, no, I lost my train of thought. I get all excited about a new member here, so.
Yeah, you talk about how you picking up the aluminium can.
Oh, the aluminium in the garage. Yes, that's right. When I stopped at the robot. Let me translate for the American crowd. When I was near the garage, I picked up aluminum. And it's in the hospital, not in hospital. I mean, in hospital's German, man. Get rid of your freaking Nazi roots there, English speakers. In hospital, it comes from im hospital. So you contract, you get rid of the article. But in English, we say in the hospital because you're saying the hospital or a hospital, not just hospital. Anyway, yeah, so I was picking up aluminium cans there, Koketso. I was picking up aluminium and... oh, gosh. Divided by a common language, English. Yeah, so you know, I want the ANC lashes on English. They love it so much. I mean, it's a very divisive language.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when you speak political English.
I am standing here beside myself, not understanding what you're talking about. I lost my point. It was about the cans. I'm picking up the cans. I forget why I was talking about that. Gosh. Yeah, no, I've always got a kick out of the Brits. They're aluminium, you know. Listen, you know, it's funny because, okay, let me ask you guys. This is completely unrelated to politics. Okay, serious question. All right, so English accents, all right? Let me categorize my favorite English accents when people speak English. Number one, the Irish lilt. Oh my goodness, shut up, the Irish, when they speak English, I don't care if they look like a tree stump. It's just gorgeous and sexy and beautiful. It's lyrical when they say it. Irish lilt, number one. Number two, surprising for me, Afrikaners when they speak English. I love their accent. I love the when they speak English. I may not like their accent in Afrikaans, you know, but when they speak English, man, it rocks. It rocks. So Irish, Afrikaners speak English, then maybe the Scots, you know, come after that. But further down the list come the English, and then way down on the list come the Aussies, because they all sound like they're common or ordinary. My Australian viewers are going to disappear now, all six of them. And then the lowest, the ones the least, now we have lots of them, but the least interesting accents for me are New Zealand and the United States. That we bring up the rear. We're at the bottom list. What about you guys? What do you think about English accents? Let's go with you, Koketso. Have you thought about that? Which the one you think is the best? Or most appealing, I should say.
Yeah, most appealing for me. Whew. So I've never really had to think about this, but I gotta say, when the rest of Europe speaks English, it's kind of sexy. You know, yeah, it's kind of sexy.
Other Europeans, okay.
Yeah, specifically Southern Europeans, not necessarily those in the Balkans, etc. But yeah, Southern Europeans. So
it's funny.
I find that quite attractive.
It's funny you say that because, you know, people always like French is such a beautiful language. I speak French. It's not a beautiful language. Italian is a beautiful language. Oh my gosh. It doesn't matter what somebody says in Italian. It's like, oh, you're eating poo-poo and we like you and we're going to beat you up. Well, that sounds so sexy, man. You sound like a young Sophie Loren.
But on the Irish, look, if I had to simplify it, I'd say the Irish, the Scottish, they speak English in Times New Roman.
I thought it was in Calibri. Dumo, your turn to weigh in. Which are the most appealing for you?
Right. I don't know. I never had an appealing one. I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm too much of a nationalist here, but I go hard on the. I would say it's ours. I think we got the best one. To be honest, I think we have the best neutral English accent ever. You mean
the South African English accent, generally speaking? Not that hard, you know, ANC cadre, you know, barely able to speak English accent. Okay.
Like the South African
political English.
There you go. Political. As opposed to political.
Yeah.
So I find that accent the best one, and I remember I had friends from England, or you'd say Great Britain, and I said, look, we mastered the English language, we mastered it. So you guys came here, they you know, you fought the Afrikaners, everything like that, and then we mastered it. Because I mean, let me tell you something. I mean, I remember I was listening to the Cockney accent, and I mean, I can understand what they're saying, but I'm just like, wow, this is just
terrible.
It's not terrible. It's just odd.
It's incomprehensible if they wanted to be.
The cricket is terrible, the rugby is terrible, the English is terrible as well.
Oh!
Don't get me wrong. And then the thing about the robot, let's talk about the robots. Robot versus traffic lights. Guys, it's a robot.
No, it's not.
It is a robot.
R2-D2 is a robot.
Okay. Here's the reality. Is it automated?
Yes.
Is it automated?
Yes.
Then it is
It's
a
a
robot.
program.
It's a robot.
My automobile is automated. It's not a robot.
robot.
It's not autonomous.
No, it's a robot. I mean, when you go to the traffic lights, right? What is that thing doing?
There's a little gerbil in there on a wheel spinning around, and when he tires, the light changes colors.
It's a robot, guys. It's a robot.
That's why the intervals are never the same. You know, you drive down the street, got to stop at this light, got to stop at the next light, got to stop at the next light. Why can't they all be sequenced so you just go straight through? Save a lot of carbon emissions.
So you know you're talking to South Africans. We are having an argument about traffic light versus robot.
It's a robot, guys. And I'm going to say it. It's a robot. RTD2 is also a robot, and so is a traffic light.
All I've got to say is it's not a tumor. No, listen. I don't know if I told you guys this, but I've told the story before. The first time I drove in South Africa was over 20 years ago, and I'm driving in Joburg, I think it was. I forget remember where it was at, but
correct side of the road.
on the wrong side of the road. You're correct. It's the wrong side of the road. Yeah. So on the left side, we drive on the right side, the correct side. Anyway, but no. So I'm driving on the wrong side of the road. And I'm coming up, and the intersection is clear. It's daylight, and I see painted on the pavement in front of me. It says "robot ahead," and I'm like, "R2D2." What the hell is what robot? Who puts a sign on the road that says "a robot ahead"? Wait, ahead. Skyscraper. Oh, thanks for that warning, man. Appreciate it. Richard Lemmer says a robot is a collection of traffic lights. Now, I could see that because that's a collective. That's like the Borg. Resistance is futile. They're networked together. Okay, so that one I can buy as a robot. But anyway, yeah. No, but it's funny because, right next door, in Botswana, those people speak properly. In Koketso, shame on you. You speak Tswana. You should speak properly when you speak English. I mean, they don't say robot. They say traffic light. And they don't say roundabout. They say traffic circle. I mean, I love it in Botswana, man. They've been properly influenced by American English, and I'm loving that.
Look, I've been touting Botswana supremacy. I've been saying,
No doubt about it, folks. That's right. Well, I was touting Botswana supremacy before Eric Masisi became president. Now it's a hard sell for me. It's a hard sell. Hey, guys, listen, before we wrap up here, I don't know how you guys feel about YouTube. I mean, it waxes and wanes. It's mostly waning these days, I think. People come and they're very interested. They're very energetic. They're very involved. They follow your program. They're really get engaged with it. And then they kind of fade away. They go away because people have lives. Other things are happening. People having babies. They have births, deaths in the family, job losses, job gains, moving from place to place. They get tired of hearing the same sort of thing, even though I always constantly refreshing my channel with different ideas, but it's interesting. But just to show you how really cool viewers can be. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this was a gift from, how's it going to work there? I got to take off that, hang on, let me take off that background there so we don't.
No problem.
Yeah, give me a second here. So no virtual background. Okay, there we go. So this was a gift from my viewers for Christmas 2 years ago when my channel was in its heyday, the one that got censored by YouTube. They made me a book for my birthday. They celebrated the growth of my channel, not knowing that it would be destroyed by YouTube. So they put this in there. This is like really cool. This was done by some folks in South Africa who put it together with people around the world. And they took pictures. There's a picture of me with that short beard there. Look at that. Man, that's a long time ago.
That is
Wales jersey on. There's some of my viewers there, Ina and James. I don't know where they're at these days. And then here's Bram Janssen van Rensburg. I haven't seen him in a while, but he's there. And then this is when I hit 250 subscribers. That's when I did that. They have the date. They tracked this, April 29th of 2020, and they did that. And then 500 subscribers on May 11th. And then this is from, who was this from? This was from, Laura Fry. I haven't seen Laura Fry in donkey years after she got harassed on YouTube. She's disappeared. Then we got Lesandrian, who moved to Botswana, my recommendation. I'm feeling a little guilty about that. No. And then
Koketso's happy.
1,000.
You should have went to Eastern Cape. I'm joking. Don't go to Eastern Cape.
1,000 subscribers on May 24th, and and then 4,000 on June 26th. You see how quickly this went. Then this is when I did my video about cutting up my Springbok jersey, which I didn't do. That one had 140,000 views on it. That video it was crazy.
Wow.
Yeah, and then 7,000 subscribers on August 13th of 2020. That was only. I started my channel. Well, I had a channel for 16 years, but I started doing what I'm doing now in really May. So May, June, July, August. In 4 months, I went from 2 to 7,000 subscribers. I haven't gone to that now in over a year on this channel because of the shadow banning. And then what else we got here? Farm Murders, EFF at Senecal, and then Trump, and then, oh, this is the Brew, who unfortunately passed away, one of my viewers from the Rona. So, and then anyway, so the last one on here I think is, oh, there's November 30th, 2020, 20,000 subscribers.
Wow.
Yeah, so my viewers put this together, they sent letters and stuff, and then this is, look, I've always been doing that for new members. I salute, and look at that short beard, man, compared to what I got now. Anyway, look, I'm not just showing this off, this is to recognize my viewers. Oh, and there's me as Kersfata, yeah, the Santa Claus.
That is very convincing.
I know. But my point about showing this off is not about me. It's about just how awesome viewers can really be and how supportive it can be. Some of these people are still with the channel. Others have got other things going on in their life, so I appreciate that. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that real quick because it was sitting here. I drag it out every now and then. It helps keep me humble to realize, that what we do is nothing if we don't have viewers. So thank you to all the viewers out there. Really appreciate it. Everyone who's contributed to this book, everyone who's been here all along. Marilyn says she's been here all along. Yeah, there's a couple people in the crowd right here that were in my first 10 subscribers, and I know who they are. They're actually listening tonight. So thank you so much for that, guys. I never had any intention of doing this sort of thing, although I had a background in broadcasting years ago. But events just sort of, I wound up gravitating this direction, so it's been kind of cool. And I really like the direction it's gone. Let me get both of you guys' thoughts on this. For this channel, I decided last year that I should have different segments, different programs, and that's where this grew out of. I first came up with the one with Viant Dutoy, and we wound up calling it Fireside with the Colonels, because two colonels were talking about war stories and experiences and geopolitical things, and that's actually the most popular one. We get a huge crowd for that because he's got a very loyal audience, and a lot of them come over. And then I came up with Answer the Question with Rob Hutchison from Dear SA, So we pose questions, the audience pose questions, and it's up to us to answer it. And we have a conversation. And then both of you guys are awesome oaks, and I really wanted to do something with you guys. I had you both on the program previously, and Koketso, you've been on a couple times, and I really, both of you, I love your centered approach to things. You're really centered. You seem like folks who know where you are in life, know where you want to go, and you don't really tolerate fools and nonsense. That's my assessment, and I like that. So I want to get you guys on. No, actually, it's just because you're black. I have no black friends. That's why I had to get you on here. So. Well, that's what they'll say on the Twitter sphere, right? That's what they'll say. Anyway, no, but seriously, so I want to get you guys on and this program, and I went with Nako, and you guys like that, and I want to do that because Tswana is kind of close to my heart. So anyway, but what are your thoughts? Do you think it's a cool idea to have these different segments? Dumo, do you like this? I mean, I know. Look, you're down anytime I want to ask you on. You're up for it. I could ask you at 3:00 in the morning, like I'm tired, but I'll get up, Chris. We'll do it right now.
Yeah, I like it. I mean, I think it will help in channel growth. I mean, it just gives the audience also some nice variety as well. So, I mean, I like it. It's brilliant stuff, yeah.
Cool beans. What about you, Koketso? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I love it. I love it. There's a lot of learning, actually, that goes on from having these kind of conversations. And it's not very dissimilar from hanging out at a coffee spot or a bar even, with a couple of your mates, or just standing around the braai and not barbecue and burning some meat, So, yeah.
Would that be while you're drinking beer from aluminium cans?
Firstly, I don't drink beer. These good looks. Yeah.
Are you a Chibuku man?
So my
no answer.
By chocolate. Let's leave it at that. But there's a lot of learning that goes on.
Yeah, no, well, there is. There's mutual learning here. I mean, we all learn from each other. And what I like about this, okay, so once upon a time in a universe far, far away, in a galaxy far, far away, Ronaldo, Ramon, and Germ used to be on. They call themselves the, what do they call themselves? The something bros, the three Ami bros or something. No, the three
bros.
I thought they were three Ami bros or something like that. That's anyway. But anyway, the Pod Bros. But yeah, once upon a time they did it. It was kind of the same sort of thing. It was an enjoyable program. I enjoyed it. They had me on there a couple of times. But the thing about that and this, which is really cool, not only are we sharing and learning and having a good time as well, but other people can profit and share from it too, because it's available. It's published there. It's live for people to chip in. And that's the aspect I like about it, because we could sit in a coffee shop in Joburg, not in Hillbrow, maybe in Santon, maybe not there. There's gunfire there too these days, but somewhere. Maybe near Wanderers, Protea. You want to go out to hang out and watch some cricket.
Edenville.
Yeah, okay, there we go. So we'll go to Edenville. So is that near Benoni?
Not too near,
far.
but not far.
I know where it's at. I'm just having a little fun because I like to poke fun at Benoni. Anyway, but yeah, so it's like we're hanging out there, except that all these other people can be part of it, and that's I think that's really cool and something else. I been reading more about coffee. I've been studying the history of coffee for a while now, even though I hate coffee. I think it's a substance invented by Satan to enslave mankind. But I've been reading about it, and the history of coffee is fascinating. The impact it's had on the planet. And not just economic, but social and cultural and political. It's actually been political. The Ottoman Empire sought to control the coffee trade, and that's one reason why they kept the empire together for so long. But coffee is an interesting thing. But like you said, Starbucks is a bit pricey there in South Africa. It's a bit pricey everywhere, man. So what kind of coffee do you favor there, Koketso? Are you a espresso, a cappuccino sort of folks, or just a straight black coffee?
So if I'm at a shop, my preference is a cappuccino, the biggest cup the establishment has. Has to have cream because I like the sourness. And of course has to have a little bit, just a dash of hazelnut in there,
There you go, hazelnut. I was in Ethiopia. I lived in Ethiopia, and Ethiopians won't let you get through there without the coffee ceremony. Have you ever participated or seen the Ethiopian coffee ceremony?
Not the ceremony, but I've got several bags of Ethiopian coffee that I still haven't opened. I've actually given away a couple because they're clogging up the cupboard. But I've got a few: Ethiopia, Tanzania, Rwanda, Burundi as well. I think I've got coffee from Uganda too.
Yeah, they produce coffee. Yep. They also the irony with Uganda is they produce coffee and tea, and both are big products. The problem for Uganda, of course, I've inside information on this because I took Air War College students to the Coffee Growers Association there, so I got great tours. Plus, we drive past these things all the time. They're plantations and meet plantation owners. But the thing about Uganda and much of Africa, South Africa and North Africa being exceptions, but especially South Africa, is that most Africans don't drink coffee. It's not a cultural norm for a lot of folks. It's becoming one in a lot of places. Ugandans' domestic consumption is almost nothing. It's less than 3% of what they produce is consumed domestically, and that's up significantly in the last 30 years. But there's a lot of growth for that inside of Africa, which is good news if people switch to coffee. But tea has grown extensively in Uganda, as is coffee. Yeah, so interesting stuff there.
Wow,
Yep.
Interesting thing I noticed just quickly is that whenever you pick up coffee from East Africa particularly, they make it a point to really, it's in the branding, to really tell you where it's from. That says a lot. Like we don't refer to it as like Arabica beans or whatever. We always say, no, this is Tanzania, this is Ethiopian, and that says a lot. So big marketing lesson in there. That also shows that, if for nothing else, you could really spread your wings on the global stage by competing on your country's name alone.
Well, absolutely, and that's the thing that's lost. This is constant argument, and I will shift back to some real economic stuff here before we wrap up, is for years I've heard this nonsense about how sweets manufacturers exploit Africa for its cocoa, and they complain about how Nestle and Toblerone and Cadbury, oh God, I hate that chocolate, Hershey, all these companies, they buy all this cocoa from Africa and they get all the money from it. Well, yeah, because if you just produce a commodities, they boom and bust. They go up and down in price. The margins are thin. Yeah. The inputs are expensive. The labor is expensive to produce it. But if you go up the scale and you produce something, and then you know how to market it, you create demand. I mean, look, Starbucks was just a local grinder shop in Seattle until Howard Schultz, who used to work there as a barista before they called him baristas, bought the company in the 1970s and turned it into a global colossus. He modeled it off of Italian, espresso shops and coffee shops, and then beat them at their own business everywhere, including in Italy. Now you can get Starbucks in Italy. It's absolutely amazing, and that's the thing. Whenever I hear people complain about cocoa and commodities in Africa, I'm like, I don't want to hear it. There's no reason Ghanaians can't make world-class chocolate in Ghana and ship it all over the world. You have to have marketing expertise and prowess. You have to have cachet. People buy Toblerone not simply because it's damn good tasting chocolate with nougat in it. That's why I eat it. But the weird shapes, little mountain pyramids, you break the little blocks off. People buy Ritter Sports because of the packaging and because it's in little blocks and the way, you break it off pieces, and it's a very sharp marketing thing. People buy Ghirardelli chocolate in California not because it's unique chocolate, but because of the marketing and the cachet associated with the brand. That's part of the reason they buy. I mean, it has to taste good or they wouldn't buy it. So Africans need to learn.
And the Lipton too,
What's
the
that?
Lipton tea bag with its triangle.
Yeah.
What do you call it? Cute triangle with that shape. It's unique enough that it's very recognizable.
Right, and of course the tea is fine. It has to have a decent taste to it, otherwise, But I mean, although sometimes you can sell crappy products like VHS to people over Betamax, and they'll buy it anyway, Or sometimes you can sell crappy computers, MS DOS over Apple, and that'll work, just because of mass. But generally speaking, but the point here is back to your point, is that if there are countries in Africa that are trying to associate their country with a quality or a cachet for a brand, I think that's brilliant. Marketing is how you move up the value chain. That's how you increase your margins. You make more money, among many ways. But it's the easiest way to do it. Look, people pay $1,500 for an iPhone, not because it's worth $1,500, but because it's an Apple. They all want to be seen walking around with their rich white people toys. Look at me, I have an Apple. I'm special. Come on, man, it's just a phone. Get over it. Anyway, now, what do you think about that, Dumo? Is that the cachet, the marketing, is that something that matters?
Yeah, it does matter. It actually does matter big time. I think that you'll find that when people price items, there's always a premium that they add, and the premium is the brand. I remember when I did a marketing course at university, and one of the things was actually pricing. Mm-hmm. Actually, that's probably the hardest thing.
Oh, it is to find the right price point, because you can chase customers away, and if it's too low, they won't buy it because it's too cheap. I mean, why would I buy that, right?
Exactly. And the brand premium plays a massive role in the price. And I remember it's actually one of the toughest sections in marketing. One of the toughest ever is pricing. And I think that, if you look at like popular brands, like you say, Toblerone, if you look at Starbucks, there's Motherland Coffee, where you can go drink coffee and stuff like that. Again, if you look at the prices of their coffee, again, it varies. You can get the same, like even if you go to Vita Cafe, they'll say that they'll sell the same coffee as Motherland Coffee, but the prices will be different. Mm-hmm. Like today, I went to Forno's Bakery, and the price of their coffee is much cheaper than Motherland Coffee, But I mean, again, there's something else to it as well, that plays a role. So definitely, marketing is definitely key. And I've seen that some organizations don't take advantage of it because they don't really know their power in the market. But yeah, it's definitely one of the most key things ever, because without a marketing plan, people won't know about your product, and that's just really what it is. Yeah,
absolutely.
But it's a professional service. That's the other thing. Marketing is a professional service, and that's where much of the continent is actually lacking right now. It's getting better, obviously, over the years, but South Africans in particular do it better than anyone on the continent, and hence you'll find a lot of enterprising South Africans basically being in charge of continent and global wide organizations, even in the rest of the continent. South African skills are sought after in Africa because we have a thicker concentration of professionals who are in that professional services space, and marketing is one of them.
Absolutely.
You don't just wake up one day and find that formula.
Paulie's renewed right there. Just want to give him a salute real quick for that. I do that so that people can get a screen capture with the salute. So thank you, Paulie, for being a member for 12 months. Yeah, no, absolutely. I'm going to wrap up here in a second, but the piece of that, Koketso, also is that what you need is something the African Continental Free Trade Agreement has yet to implement or even deliver, and that's protocols on trademark protections, copyrights, and things like that. Because if you come up with a marketing brand, say in South Africa, and the authorities don't prosecute or go after people who steal your brand and copy it, then you're not making money. This is why the music industry is not a colossus in West Africa. Listen, folks, if you don't know about West African music, it rocks. Unbelievable music quality in Nigeria, in Ghana, fantastic musicians, great songs, but they're all poor for the most part. Why are they all poor? Because they make and sell their music in Africa, and people go and copy it and burn CDs and burn MP3 files and undercut them. They never make any money off their music. Other people are making money. Pirates are making money. And so until you have copyright trademark protections that are enforceable and a right of redress in courts that functions, creating brands doesn't really accomplish anything. All right, guys, we're going to have to wrap up here. So, Dumo, any last thoughts before we go, and then we'll wrap it up with Koketso.
Yeah. Thanks for having us on. Thanks for having me on. Let me not speak for Koketso. But yeah, thanks for having me on, Chris. It's much appreciated. And yeah, and thanks to all the viewers. Saw the comments. Guys are really awesome. And yeah, looking forward to the next show.
Cool beans. All right, Koketso.
Yeah, I haven't seen the comments. I'm pretty sure they're good. I've got one screen today. But yeah, it's always good, of course, being on a platform like this where I can just unwind a little bit after a very long day at work. But yeah, I think it's important, again, more of these conversations need to happen with just regular people, and not those that have been handpicked by the established media, of course, to basically sell a narrative. We're just ordinary guys at the end of the day, and we represent some maybe extraordinary opinions, but we're just ordinary guys. And yeah, we may speak for ourselves, but in hindsight, we actually speak for a lot of people who don't want to have a voice online.
Fair point, and well said there, Koketso. Absolutely the case. Guys, I don't know if you're aware of this, but I am coming to South Africa in August and September, and this even before they lift the stupid restrictions. That'll just make it easier to come down there. But I do anticipate being detained at OR Tambo or Cape Town, whichever airport I fly into, when they ask for my passport, and they'll say that, no, your name is not Wyatt, you are Cous Delare. So... Dumo's puzzled by that, yeah. Or is he's reading something else there? He's not getting that. Cous Delare? Okay. Anyway, no.
I am puzzled. I'm puzzled.
Okay, the leader of the Boers during the Anglo-Boer War at Cous Delare. Yeah. So anyway, the song by Bok van Blerk, Delare, Saya Ikom, the Boer. Anyway, so no, but I'm gonna have a little fun with Durka when I come to the country. But I'll be there, and I expect to be in Gauteng probably in late August. Just maybe we'll catch that coffee there, Koketso.
Cool. You need a ride from OR Tambo, just let me know.
I'm going to need a ride everywhere because gas is, 80 Rand a liter. And when I get there in August, going to need rides everywhere, folks. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, nako, the Call of Africa. It's great to have these two gentlemen. It's always a pleasure, especially since they're my only black friends. I didn't know that. That's what someone told me. So anyway, guys, have a good day, good evening, and we'll catch you here next time. I'm off to Ronaldo program right now, and I'll be on Wednesdays with the Colonel. Thanks a lot, guys. Take care of yourselves. I'll let you drop off. Cheers. All right. Okay. All right. And then I'll wrap up here. And whoops. All right, folks, that's it. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Really appreciate your support for the channel. Hope you enjoyed this episode of nako. You can catch me live on Ronaldo's program shortly, and a program announcement. I'll be doing the news later today since I didn't get to it this morning. Cheers, everybody. Thanks a lot. God bless, and thanks for the super chats, everybody. Really appreciate it. Bye-bye.